we actually have our regular Board of Finance meeting on this evening as well, which we will start first, and then we'll proceed to the continuation of the budget hearing. Unfortunately, there is not much on our agenda of the regular meeting, so it should not take very long. At this point, I'll call to order the Board of Finance meeting for Monday, February 27th, at 6:30, comes from the Parsons Center, and all members are present except for Lauren Strandi, who is sick this evening. Election of officers.
You staying on?
I'll move and to nominate Brian Lima as the chairman.
Yeah. Second.
Any further nominations? No?
No, thank you. You do a good job.
Thank you. Any further nominations? If none, move that nominations be closed.
So moved.
All, the second by Mr. Fitzpatrick, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nominations are closed, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I look forward to serving as your chairman for another year. Thank you very much.
Good man, thank you.
We have, the next officer is vice chair.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Joe Fitzpatrick for vice chair.
Motion to nominate Mr. Fitzpatrick for vice chair. There's a
I will second.
second. Any further nominations? Hearing none, move that the nominations be closed.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor of nominations being closed?
Aye.
Opposed? Nominations are closed. All in favor of nominating Mr. Fitzpatrick as vice chair?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, we have consideration of minutes of the regular meeting of December 19th, 2016. I would note one typographical or clerical error in the minutes on page 2 in regards to Chairman Woods of the Building Committee. The minutes state the project that they have been working on the project over the last week. It actually should state over the last year. So with that correction, I move that the minutes be accepted.
So moved.
Seconded? Second by Mr. Fitzpatrick. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are adopted. Thank you. Any correspondence? No correspondence. New business.
Move to authorize budget memo transfer number 3.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Raquel? Yes.
I'll second.
Seconded by Raquel. Any discussion on the motion? Joe, any discussion?
No.
Okay, if there's no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
No.
Motion carries unanimously.
Move to authorize budget memo transfer number 4.
A motion on the floor and seconded.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Just for a
Yeah,
second
I'm
on
just
that.
trying to follow this.
Ryan, on that, Peter, I guess, the second contingency, 19,000, where's that coming from? We had one contingency, is that from last year's budget too?
That is from the current year budget, yes. It's
16,
actually from
17.
16, 17.
We had two contingency funds in there?
We'd have two because the other one is Fund 12, is fund for the sewer fund, which has the wastewater employees.
All right.
So that's Fund 12. The first one is Fund 10, the general fund.
Wastewater, okay.
All right, where's the wastewater?
Last one, I couldn't find it either.
Wastewater.
Oh,
is-
third one,
yes,
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Wastewater.
Yep.
4426.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Peter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Staff report?
The only staff report, we have, if I didn't mention it earlier, our new tax collector started last week, Mary Ann Klinger, and she started on February 21st.
Any further?
None?
Nope.
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn by Mr. Casanoli, seconded by Mr. Fitzpatrick. Any discussion? We're adjourned. Okay. At this time, we'd like to reconvene Board of Finance budget hearing for the 2017-2018 budget. First item on the agenda is Department 4193, Public Library. I think most of you have been here before, so when we call your department, if you would come up, and you're welcome to make a statement or simply respond to any questions that the board may have. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. So the budget that I put before you, I think, is very reasonable and in line with Mayor Blake's request to keep it modest. I'm requesting less than a 1% budget if you exclude contracted salaries and wages. I have kept all of that increase is mostly in our operational costs. We've been trying to be very fiscally sound and do cost saving where we can so that we can use that money to further improve our services. And I have kept the capital account flat for this year. I would like to say that I've been doing that for the last number of years. And with that, what you get for that is we had almost 160,000 library visits last year. We've circulated almost 250,000 items. We had 754 programs that were attended by almost 22,000 people in the fiscal year. And that's all for a per capita spending of about $28. So I think we're getting a good return on the investment here, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the library budget.
I'm just trying to track, Peter, you may be able to answer this, 4193, the regular wage account, looking at 2016, 2017 is 754. But then I'm looking at 802 on the historical data. Is there, I'm just trying to track how we got from.
The 16-17 budget was adopted by the Board of Aldermen, so that's a fixed number.
Okay.
And that did not include the wage increases.
Right.
And once the contract went through, obviously the new year budget for 17-18 reflects the wage increases. And what I did was bring up the 7-1-16 salary levels to the actual 7-1-16 levels per the bargaining agreement.
Which is an 802 number.
Which is the 802 number.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. 4703, operational expenses, bibliomation. I'm confused as to what we approved. Nothing for 16 and 17, expenditures are anticipated 13,416.
Yeah.
And we want 15,000 this year.
Yeah, Bibliomation is the name of the new library consortium that we joined. So we had put it in the line item prior to paying for it as we were migrating into the new system. And that money has been transferred from the computer software account, which is what we used to pay our ILS, our computer system, from. So if you'll notice in the computer software and maintenance, that one's going to be going down.
What account is that?
4796.
So is that an annual fee?
It's an annual fee. And it's much less than what we used to pay to Cersei Dynex, which was our prior provider.
Who's the consortium? What's the name of it?
Bibliomation is the name of
That's
the
the outfit? Is this the interstate one?
It is one of the ones within the state.
Right,
It's
and that's
about
what their
60.
name is,
Yes.
Bibliomation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many cities does that cover? Do
It
you know?
includes 63 public libraries now, a number of school libraries, and 2 special libraries.
Okay. Which end of the state? Covering toward Hartford?
Bibliomation actually has quite a bit on the western half of the state, in the Fairfield County area, but it also has a bunch over on the eastern part of the state as well. It is the only consortium that's pretty much statewide. The other 2 consortiums in the state are more centered. Lion is more of the Connecticut River Valley, and the Library Connection is more Hartford area. So Bibliomation is pretty well spread out.
What's going to be the experience about getting books from other libraries? Like you go down into Fairfield County, most people use their books.
Mm-hmm.
If you go east in Connecticut, I know from experience, I can get books from Wallingford, I can get books from, I do through Orange as well.
Orange is the Lion Consortium.
Right. And the state messed that up too. They're probably
Yes,
going
they
to mess
did.
this one up too, but.
This is not state-run. You're talking about the state delivery system.
Yeah, right.
That has been in operation since like the 1970s.
Right.
It has taken a huge cut to the budget.
Right.
It used to be run half by an independent contractor and half by the state.
Right.
It's now being run fully by the state at a reduced cost. So it's affecting every library in the state. It has nothing to do with any of the consortium. So, for example, Milford, we used to get library delivery 5 days a week.
Right.
We are now getting it 2 days a week.
That's exactly right.
So the state library did hire a consultant to try to figure out a way to alleviate the problem, and they're still working on it. It is
Yeah,
definitely a
money.
big issue. It's a money issue, yeah,
And that didn't take much for a consultant.
for the
If you
consultant.
give money, you'll get the system back.
Well, they paid for the consultant, they haven't paid for the system yet.
Yeah.
So
So you're not involved with any delivery of books by the state then, in Bibliomation?
Sure, we receive delivery. The state.
From the state too?
The state runs from library to library. So when you requested a book from Wallingford and had it delivered at Orange, that was the state delivery system that delivered that item.
No, with one in Orange, I request a book at Orange, then they go out. I don't specify the library I want the book from.
Correct.
Now what happens here?
You can.
Yeah, I know I could do that.
Orange, we work exactly the same way. So if
Same
you
way.
request a book, if it's something that Milford owns, you obviously get Milford's
Correct.
copy first. If it's something we don't own, it goes out to our consortium, and the
Right.
first available copy will be shipped to you.
Okay,
to
who's
fill
doing
that
the
hole.
shipping under this?
State library.
Yes. Okay.
And they're doing it for everybody.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, it's,
Hold your breath for a book.
it is taking a little longer, but
Oh,
it is
you
still
better
definitely
believe it is.
working.
It's taken 3 weeks where I used to get a book in a week.
Absolutely,
Yeah, terrible.
absolutely.
Terrible.
There's been a lot of
Don't
complaints
educate
to
the
state
people, might
legislators.
help. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Where, the 15 for the bibliomation, what account went down?
Computer software. We used to pay for all of our Cersei Dynex costs, which was our prior provider under the computer software, and we're now going to be paying for it out of a separate line item for bibliomation.
Okay.
Good, thank you very much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Anything further? Thank you.
Good job. Good job, I hear. My wife keeps telling me.
We'll let you stop by and see here, you have some, the calendar.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next department, 4133, probate court.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Judge Beverly Price Gonzalez. Just a couple of changes on the budget for this year. As you may recall, last year I had requested funding for scanners. The court now has a desktop scanner for each clerk, which expedites, frankly, the minute a document is filed, it's in the system, it's scanned immediately. So I thank you for approving that, and it went through the whole budget cycle, and we were able to purchase those. So that request is now a zero, we no longer need that
You
funding.
need another one?
Not right now,
Okay, let me know.
okay.
Because get rid of 2 of them.
The digital photography line item is slightly reduced. We've always run significantly under budget, but it's a very malleable number. It's hard for us to predict. It's based on when the actual scanned documents are burned. There's a secondary data coverage of the documentation. So we just have maintained it, but we've reduced it slightly for this year's cycle. The other one that is a slight increase is what is called other supplies and charges, and that's actually the shredding company that comes in. I believe it comes in weekly, and they take bags and bags of documents that are confidential with their shredding. And it also covers the post office box rental fee. And that's just calculated based on actuals.
Thank you.
Looks good.
Any questions?
Okay,
All right,
thank you very much,
thank you.
everyone.
Thanks for coming out.
Appreciate
Have a good night.
You too. 4123, community development.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Good. We are the same, status quo. We only have about $8,500 to play with, so there's not much room. But I think the only change in the budget this year is the computer. They're upgrading our computers. They're a little ancient. That's pretty much it.
It was better computer from last year and the computer this year?
Each year until we get them all shored up, so we'll need more and more.
They'll do one on top of that. 5 years.
Yeah,
probably.
exactly, when the technology changes.
You're doing a great job. Any questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
Yeah, why do we need, how many computers you want for?
Each year, so one a year.
Some of the people in the department are grant funded,
Yeah.
so it's more than
Oh,
appearing in the
okay.
budget book. There's 2 positions that are funded through HUD, through the CDBG program, that are out of that department, and then there's another position as well that oversees some of the grants.
Oh,
So we fund a portion of it in the, under the general expenses line item, and some of it's funded also through grants.
Okay.
And then I have one part-time person.
2 people involved.
Oh, yeah.
Thank
You caught
you.
me.
Yeah.
No.
And then, well,
31.
Economic Development Commission, there's nothing, I guess that falls under your preview, but
$1.
$1.
Good work, guys.
We'll keep that.
Keep it going. Is that it?
Good.
That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Bye,
coming
Joel.
in.
Bye, guys.
Okay, so we also covered 4155, Economic Development, so the next item is 4219, Human Resources Department.
What do you want?
Good evening. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
So, overall, our budget is status quo. There've been a few minor line items that we've looked for some increases. The regular wages, as Peter mentioned, through contract negotiations, we've settled about 5 collective bargaining agreements which have increased wages, so those have been handled. And so I adjust the overtime line by $250 to account for one of my employees that has to attend the pension board meetings every month, and so her wages increase, so to account for that. Under the miscellaneous professional fee services, that's to account for the state increase the cost of grievances and arbitration from $25 to $200. And the computer, we're looking to add a new computer. Again, we have 3 people in the office. All of the computers are pretty old, and that was the quote from our MIS director to include a new computer and software to support it. So one person will get it, and then next year will ask for it.
That ties into the system?
Yes.
Okay.
And overall, everything else is pretty much status quo. In a small department, there are 3 individuals. Last year, we recruited 20 positions. We reviewed over 525 applications, used a list of various tests between performance, computerized testing, and oral exams. On the labor front, we negotiated in collaboration with city attorney 5 collective bargaining agreements. There's still an ongoing negotiations with another 4 groups. On the benefits side, through negotiations, we implemented a new high deductible health plan with a health savings account, and that is now being administered through my office, and so we do all of the administration for the new hires who are in that plan, which there's some cost savings to the city. And from the wellness efforts, we hosted a bunch of lunch and learns, had a health fair for employees, had implemented fitness classes for our employees during the day and after work, and hosted 2 blood drives in collaboration with the American Red Cross.
That's nice.
I have a question, maybe again for Peter. These 2 departments each are buying 1 or 2 computers, and on economic development and community development at $700 to $1,000. How do we go about assigning a value or cost to those?
Gene gives us a quote off the state bid,
Okay.
and the extra 300 is for the Microsoft license for the software
Okay.
upgrade. So they probably have an older version of Microsoft Office, and the upgrade's about $300.
Okay, so the cost will come from Gene, and then that'll be inputted into each department's budget?
Yes, correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'll stay because I have pension board.
Oh,
business.
yes. Thank you. 4145, pension board.
30.
So pension board, there was a very slight increase, and that's the cost of the accountant, and that was just the increase in his fee, and that comes out of the pension board's budget. And civil service, we kept it status quo. Usually my HR generalist takes the minutes, so that's just in case she's not available, we would need to pay for services, but we have it.
Question to Peter, on the audit results, where do they appear? For like this, say the pension board, we see it anywhere?
You would see, these services you would see in the comprehensive annual financial
Blue book.
report, the Blue Book. There is a significant section devoted to the pension
The
fund.
statement from the auditor and the whole bit?
Yes, the fiduciary fund statements for the pension fund are in there, and also with GASB 67, 68, the new pension fund reporting is also there, and they help to oversee that, audit that as well.
While I'm at it, how about the school board? Is that in the blue book too or no? Their audit?
Their audit, yes.
It's in there?
It's in there, but they also audit the ED-001, which is a report that they file with the state, along with some of their other reporting mechanisms.
Now, where do those go? They're in their own file?
They probably issue various reports besides the ED-001, probably reports related to the various grants that they receive. You can also look at the state and federal single audit reports that come from this auditor, and those follow the yellow book guidelines of the federal government's guidelines for audits of federal and state grants. So those 2 books as well would have the results for.
We don't see that, right?
You don't, you could see it, it is available.
Is
yes.
it online? It's,
I don't believe it's online, it's in book form, we have it.
Thank you.
I just forgot to mention, it is actually online through the Federal Audit Clearinghouse website, so I am mistaken, it is available
Oh, yeah.
online, yes.
Yeah. Fuck that one.
Anything further?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
4801, Council on Aging.
87.
Hi, good evening. I'm Janice Jackson, Director of the Senior Center, and Mary Ellen Hiram is with me tonight. I have copies of our February bulletin to pass out to you, and our services and programs. I'd like to also give you some general information about the senior center. We have 6 full-time employees, 29 part-time employees, and 8 teachers with a total of 43 employees. Last year, our Meals on Wheels drivers delivered 11,438 meals to elderly and disabled clients in Milford. That is a 35% increase over last year. We have a total of 10 vehicles and 8 drivers. 2 drivers are full-time and 6 are part-time. The transportation service provided 23,244 rides for older adults. Last year, we served 31,500 meals in our mini lunch program. That is a 12% increase over last year. Our continental breakfast program served 8,962 seniors, which is an increase of 75% from the previous year. Our insurance specialists served 2,838 clients. Social services served 7,127 clients with requests, such as home care assistance, housing referrals, entitlement programs, and referrals to healthcare and assisted living facilities. The Milford Food Bank assisted 2,774 clients with food. That's an increase of 26% from the year before. There was a 10% increase in new members from 321 to 353. Attendance in our classes has increased by 31%. Special events attendance has increased by 25%. Travel has increased 13%. Our request is 0.81% or $10,999. Does anyone have any questions concerning our programs or services?
Janet, you said 353 members? So
New members.
Oh, new members. What's the total membership?
Approximately 3,000.
3,000.
And I think, Mr. Fitzpatrick, last year you had asked me about grants, the grants that we had. And we received a grant from the United Way of Milford, and that's for $26,500. And also the Community Development Block Grant is $10,500. Any other questions?
Now, we have, what was the total membership? 3,000, huh?
Approximately. And I think you also asked how many people actually pay the dues.
Right.
And we have approximately 2,000 that pay the dues.
You know, you're reading off all the statistics of the food programs, and that I understand, the food bank type of thing, but since I don't have them all written down with you, you've gone through, you talk about thousands of people who have taken advantage of different programs. And when you give services to people, like doing trips and everything, are they members, all of them?
It would depend on the trip. For example, if you look in our February bulletin, I think it is page 4.
Right.
Our travel coordinator, Kathy Wachter, mentions that the coach tours, the big buses, she says they're open to members and non-members. So some of the trips are open to our members and some are not. But
You open to members that don't pay their dues too?
if there is room on the bus.
I think we should look at some of these functions that you have people taking advantage of. Make it mandatory that they pay their dues, that if they are a member taking advantage of programs that the programs, that you're giving out. I mean, we should be charging these people.
Yes, the membership is $15 a year.
Right, I mean, it's not gonna kill them. You can't get on the bus, give me $15.
Or you could make it member, non-member price.
Well, they do have that,
Oh,
but
they have
they,
that?
not all the functions do they have their own member though. They come in for meals, everybody has a membership coming in for meals,
Yes.
you check your membership.
People, well, and then today, for example, our insurance specialist said to me that she had a client that couldn't afford the $15. So in rare cases like that, we do waive.
Right, I understand that, but there's an awful lot of going on for just the 2,000 people paying. I think something should be done on that. We're giving out, we're giving out $1.3 million. That's from us. Then you get another 37,000 from others. I mean,
Well, we do have, every month, we have a volunteer that calls seniors to remind them that they haven't paid their dues.
okay,
And then usually after that, people will come in and say, I received a
all
call.
three
but I
of them.
forgot to pay it.
Okay, that's all good. I won't give you any more on this stuff. That's my big pet peeve, as you know,
Well,
on the membership.
1,000 people at $15, 15,000.
8,000. Plus the ones that don't pay anything and use the services. There are services, I'm sure they're being used that they don't pay anything. They're not a member.
No,
No?
like
Okay.
what services?
Huh?
What services?
I don't know, I haven't gone through your whole list you gave me here. No,
You
not
have one of
that, but
these?
what you gave up for attendance and everything,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Anything further?
That's, I'm done now.
Thank you for
Thank you.
your presentation. Thank you.
Don't get me wrong, I really enjoy what you do for the people, you really do. You work hard, I know you do,
Thank you.
but I want you to be rewarded.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Finance Council,
87, yeah.
4803. How are you?
How are you? Good evening, everybody. I'm Paige Molly, the Executive Director of the Milford Arts Council. I think you received a copy of the budget. It's pretty much, not much changes year to year. Things just kind of shift based on the success of certain programs over others. This year, we did revamp our member dues. And instead of going with $25 a year and $50 for family, we made it a blanket general membership dues of $35. With that, we've seen a little uptick on our membership for the first time in the 4 years that I've been there, which is great. People didn't really seem to complain too much about the $10 raise. Also with our grant that we got last year from the DECD for $60,000 and a $15,000 match from MPI and area businesses, we are midway through our renovation project. The interior of the building is just about completed, and we are now starting to break ground on the outside patio refurb and signage project. So that will be done, including the fabrication of 2 wayfinding kiosks, one to be placed in our site and one to be placed in a downtown area, which not only promotes our activities, but promotes walkability of the city and citywide and downtown events. So kind of looking forward to seeing that to its fruition. I think last year I mentioned that we were looking to add a staff member to help activate our membership and to oversee our membership and to update the system. Everything up until last year was done pencil to paper on membership information by a wonderful, wonderful volunteer, long-term board member. We finally took it out of her hands and hired somebody to update and put everything into the computer and to help activate and reach out to our membership for volunteer opportunities for programs and events. And in doing so, we didn't add a staff member, we simply replaced what was a person who oversaw the facility, making sure materials and equipment got back put into place, things were cleaned, the place was looked after. We canceled that and decided that our front of the house needed more attention, so we simply transferred that staff, or salary, not salary, not, but fee amount into a different position, and then the 3 of us help oversee the facility ourselves, just adding on to that. So it's just kind of a shift with what we had, trying to utilize the money better. And the next plan of attack is to look at the second venue that we oversee, which is the Firehouse Gallery in Walnut Beach. Stronger partnerships with that business association, and better utilization of that facility itself. So we're looking at maybe adding classes or revamping the gallery model into some other model that would gain us more traction, visibility, use, and money. So I don't know if anybody has any questions for me.
I'm looking forward to the show in June. You know, show that
4,000
is?
miles?
Nancy Herman?
Yeah,
Yeah.
4,000 miles coming up.
Mm. She says it's a drama comedy. I'm gonna hold it to the comedy aspect.
Dramedy.
Dramedy. That's so nebulous, I told her.
Sounds like my life.
It'll be fun. We'll have 25
That'll be his
minutes.
life, right?
That's right.
We're gonna lock the house down when we come.
Good,
Yeah.
good. You can enjoy the new speakeasy downstairs. All
Mm.
Okay.
Thank you.
right.
Good job.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out. 4807, Regional Mental Health.
88.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's here, but again, just to reiterate, it's a very small percent, I think it's 6 cents per capita. Is it 6 cents or 3 cents?
Makes sense.
I don't recall.
Where's Claire when you need her?
Right, so.
I know she is. If anybody's there, she is. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
you're right.
That is for
I'll
sure.
sure.
Okay, 4812, Transit District.
89.
Evening. How are you?
Good, how are you? Henry Jadek, I'm the executive director for the Transit District. For those of you who don't know, we do fixed route bus service in town and a long haul service from Milford to Norwalk, along with Bridge and Norwalk Transit. We do 88 bus service, we do service 988 service, door-to-door service for the elderly, although senior center takes a good portion of that, which is fine. We also run the parking program at the train station for the Metro North commuters. And be happy to answer any question you have.
How many buses do you have?
We have 9 coaches and 12 vans.
Do you have that expander buses at Norwalk?
That's Connecticut Transit's.
Connecticut?
Yeah.
I love watching that go by, 5 people.
Well, try driving it on Milford Point Road or on
Yeah, right.
some of the streets that, it's not a local bus.
Yeah, but do they use it, that many passengers for the double bus, do you think?
Well, they use it on some of their,
The heavier?
like the direct run they have from the Green to the mall. That's a very heavily traveled bus, they use it on something like that.
Yeah.
To look at the passengers.
Yeah, I often wonder about that thing.
Our largest bus is 40, we have 3 40-foot buses.
Yeah.
But we use it on the coastline, which gets a much heavier traffic than the other routes.
Mm.
Are you managing the new parking lot by the train station? Is that within your?
We will be April 1st. Going through mailing now to solicit people that are on our wait list, for the other lots that are from Milford, to put them over there until, let be temporary until whatever happens, it happens.
Good. Anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Henry.
4827, Literacy Volunteers.
92.
Hello, I'm Jenny Jackson, I'm the Executive Director for Literacy Volunteers of Southern Connecticut. I am new to this process,
Yeah.
so thank you for having me and for requesting us to be a part of the city budget. We've been in Milford for over 20 years, and we service about 100 students a year, adult students. We also have some children's literacy programs as well. We read to kids, we have an after-school tutoring program at West Shore. We have books for babies and toddlers and books for babies, where we get books into the hands of children that don't necessarily have a large library. Primarily, we're asking for help because we've just really been struggling the last couple of years. Last year, we were down $15,000. And, we've been here a long time, and I hate to have the services go away. We service over 100 students, like I said. We have about 100 volunteers between our leaders, our tutors, our board members, other volunteers for our special events. They roughly tutor over 5,000 hours a year. So there's only 2 people that are paid in our office, the rest are all volunteers. So Melinda and I are both part-time, and we manage all of that by ourselves. So, we just come to offer a little information about Rosie and what we do. And I actually have our new brochure, so it's got some student stories, and love for you to read it and learn a little bit more about us. Do you have any questions?
So the rest of your funding, is it state grants or nothing?
I have no state or federal funding, it's all fundraisers. And up until this point, when I came to the Board of Aldermen meeting last year, I was proud of the fact that we've been able to sustain ourselves for all these years. But with, just additional funding and fundraisers and other people in need and other programs, it's just become so much more difficult. Our volunteers donate so much of their time, and I think that they come to us because that's what they can offer. We don't have deep pockets, as some, nonprofits might go to their people and ask for those kind of annual appeals. We don't have that large drive, but they give their time, and we have 5,000 hours of time pretty much on a consistent yearly basis that help support our cause.
How are they referred to you, these students at all?
A lot of times word of mouth, because many of them don't speak English. We do have a 7-language mailer that we will distribute to certain pockets of the community. I ask for certain grant money for some of those because it's pretty costly to mail, many hundreds of copies. So, I do that maybe once a year, every other year. We advertise in the paper. We were in the adult ed catalog for a number of years. So.
You still in that?
We're not.
Why not? They keep you out? Nice people. Now, you get money from Stratford, I see you deal with Stratford Library too.
So we changed our name last year because we realized, although primarily most of our students are from Milford, there was a onesie twosie that would come, and I wasn't gonna turn them away.
Right.
If they need the service and they need the help, if it's one person from Orange or 5 from Stratford, we're gonna help them. I'm not gonna say, no, we're not gonna support you or have you come into a class. We realized more were coming from Stratford, so we have a satellite office, and we received some money from the Community Foundation for Fairfield, which supports that, and we have separate line items that keep Milford and Stratford separate, so that, and we calculate our time different also, because I know it's a fine line of funding.
These people that teach in the English second language, they have to go to a course for that and everything.
So we have a 5-week tutor training class.
Yeah.
Actually, one starting in Stratford tomorrow, if you're interested.
My daughter did.
A lot of times the people will come and they know that they want to help and support an adult student. They sit in class and go, how am I going to do that? I don't speak, Spanish, or I don't speak Chinese. A lot of times our students know something. Very few come right off the plane, although I have met some that have only been here a day, and they're sitting in my office and I'm like, oh my gosh. I always tell the tutors, they're way more afraid of you than you are of them. So, I always say we're really special because not only do we teach them English and support for to improve their literacy skills, a lot of times our tutors take on a social service position. I mean, for example, we had one family that came from Italy and their kids were struggling. Well, they didn't speak English well enough to communicate with the schools. The tutor went to the school as a liaison and helped bridge the gap for their kids to kind of be enrolled. So there's a lot of situations like that where the tutor will just do so much more than just, having your lesson every week, and they'll take them shopping or
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
That's
all
cool.
the fundamental things of just getting by.
I mean, I'm proud of a lot of our students end up going on and getting jobs, and they make a living, and they pay taxes and contribute to society, and, you know, and help the schools with their kids, and we're proud of that.
Yep.
We've had a class at Meadowside for years, and this year we actually just ended it, not for good, but because they all got jobs. They all got jobs and got better and like went off to work, so we were so proud of that, but we're like, but we don't have a class, so we'll start again in September, but that whole group of women improved enough that they were able to work. So that's
super.
really what, you know, we're hoping for them to not be on the system so that they can give back and contribute and, you know, provide for their families and give them the skills that they need to be better people, so.
Thank you.
That's great.
Okay,
Appreciate
cool.
it.
Thanks.
Okay.
Leprechaun League's coming up, in case you wanna take the floor.
Jump in. Lauren.
Just saying. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I think it's
4828 Milford Historic Preservation Commission.
The fundraiser next month, where
Oh,
people jump into Walnut Beach, the Long Island Sound.
sound?
Yeah. Yeah, down in Walnut, right? Yeah.
Walnut,
Oh, wow.
Okay,
93, right?
Preservation Commission, this is cemeteries, right? Isn't this consolidated between the cemeteries, I think?
No, this
Or
is, a couple of years ago, it's a new commission, so we have the historic district, the historic district south of the Green.
Right.
This is for those historic homes that are scattered around town that are looking for national recognition or state recognition. And it's within the last couple of years. I think this is the second time it's appeared in your budget book, last year as well. It's for those homes that are historic in nature that aren't necessarily all contiguous to each other, so that they're piecemeal all around town.
Okay.
Who's the head of this commission? Claude?
Nope, Michelle
Kramer.
Kramer is the chair.
Okay. Done
Okay, MGAT.
16.
All right.
How
Chairman.
are you? Good. So this is my first time here for you. I took the chairmanship at MGAT in the middle of the budget process. So my predecessor, Al May, came before you last year. This year, so I don't know, are you familiar with MGAT? Our channels on 78 and 79,
Yes.
broadcast live, the Board of Finance, broadcast live the Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals, Board of Aldermen, and 2 Board of Ed meetings per month. We film and rebroadcast the Board of Finance meetings. We don't have large live capability here in this room. And occasionally we will be able to film community events. We've done spelling bees in the past, parades in the past, so we try to take advantage of that, those offerings as well for the community. So our city budget is only responsible for a portion of our funding. We do receive grant funding every year. There is the Area 2 Cable Advisory Council that distributes a grant to 4 municipalities per year. Woodbridge, Orange, Fairfield, and Milford. So this, one of the reasons why we, so there's a balance of what the city provides and what the grantor will provide. And it's hard to predict where they will go. Sometimes one community will need an upgrade, capital improvements, adding some cameras, and so we'll get lower funding from year to year, so it's very unpredictable. As you can see, we are requesting an increase this year, and there's 2 reasons for that. When I took over the chairmanship in March, one of the first things I did is really look under the hood and see how we were operating. I visited Woodbridge, I visited Fairfield, and I found that our technology was really behind in the way we were still, at the time I became chair, we were still broadcasting both networks off of a DVD carousel. So it was 5 DVDs and it would go. So you never knew when a meeting would start. You couldn't plan a schedule. You couldn't, and we were the only station I knew of that still aired that way. So
one of the things that we were, and one of the reasons is that we hadn't really made investments in technology. We were using our grant money to fund our labor costs and weren't making the investments that we needed to make. Another thing that I learned was that, at the end of the year when we would sometimes run out of money and then our operator would end up working for free. And I found that was one thing I really wanted to put a stop to. That was important to me as chair to really have a real sense of costs going from year to year. So we actually did have some difficulty finishing the year out last year. I had to put my operator on a bit of a furlough. He couldn't attend any of our committee meetings. He was able to do the live broadcast, but couldn't process it for rebroadcast until we hit the next fiscal year. So I was really conscientious of the fact that, what are the true costs? And I found that we just did not have enough money to finish out the year. So another thing that I did say this to the Board of Aldermen when I spoke to them last year, that we would need to increase our city funding in order to be able to use some of this grant money for some of the technology improvements that we really needed to make. So there was some support from the Board of Aldermen last year. There was a motion from the floor to increase our budget for $3,000. So I do know there is support among the Board of Aldermen to increase our funding. So, so those were really the two main reasons why there is an increase. One of the things, my priorities is to make these investments in technology so that we can streamline our operations to be able to turn programs around faster. So maybe some of these costs will end up, the costs that, where these investments that we're making now could yield us to shoot more right now. I would love to be able to cover more things, and, other municipalities are investing more in their GATs, but they're also covering more. So, although Orange is currently, Woodbridge is 29,000, Fairfield 50,000, Orange is 75,000. That's how much those municipalities are putting in their GATs, but they're covering 13 meetings a month as opposed to 6 or 7. They're doing the police and fire commission and the wetlands. So, that's something for you to consider. I don't know how much content people are really interested in. What we've determined is that there's two things that people really care about, is their property values and their kids. And the decisions that are made in planning and zoning, zoning board of appeals, board of ed, and board of aldermen affect those two things. They really do have an impact, and those are the meetings that people really care about. One thing that we are doing this year, which is a new thing, is we're pushing content to YouTube. So now even if people aren't on cable, they can subscribe to our YouTube channel and see these meetings. That's a free. One thing that we're hoping to add in this coming year is live streaming of our live meetings. So even if you have, you can see meetings on our YouTube channel, you might have to wait a few days for it. You can't see an actual live stream of a meeting taking place, but some of the new technology that I'm hoping to implement this year, that we'll actually be able to have a live stream event so that, if you're at home and you don't have cable, you can still see it. So.
You're saying equipment, but you're putting it under the cable service area, but how come you don't put it on the capital outlays as to what your equipment,
I think she's using the grant money for the equipment, right?
Mostly capital outlays is grant money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What equipment servicing is, and we don't end up spending that, it looks like, but it's so I'm wondering if there was a way to, are we allowed to reallocate that money if we don't spend it at a certain time? It's really just so that if a microphone breaks, or if it's not a capital outlay, but if there's, something that's in our regular use, it has to be repaired or fixed, that we have money set aside for that, and we don't get stuck with that.
Well, I think and we could make a technical correction, but if you're gonna use the 500 to buy a microphone or some other piece of equipment, probably should be on the capital outlay, even though it's.
So that's not a capital, so if it's something that's in use and just needs to be repaired?
no, that wouldn't be capital.
No, right.
Right.
No, that would be like, sometimes a piece of equipment might go out that's currently in use, whether it's a cable or a microphone, and we just have to go get a new one and replace it. So that would be, I just assume that would be equipment servicing.
Usually a capital outlay, Peter, 5 years or more, or what are we doing now? That's cheap. What are you
Well,
talking about?
for depreciation, we capitalize 5,000 or more. For the budget, $500 or more.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks for the job you're doing.
Thanks.
I'm watching myself every night. Yeah, she does.
DPLU, I don't see anybody here, Mr. Mayor, is that, it was moved, but maybe.
It was moved, yeah. Per his request.
Okay, I can handle some of those questions.
Well, I don't-
And then for all the questions that still remain unanswered, I'm happy to make sure that we have the director there either at the technical session on Thursday or have, written responses to those.
That's fine, thank you. So we'll move on to 4142, permanent land use, page 27. Do we know in this department the computer situation? Are we getting several new computers?
Well, this is a department, so it's grouped together similar to how the finance department's budget operates, where, all the different divisions within the finance department, the tax office, the finance office, the assessor's office, the treasury, they're all under one budget that's
Right.
identical to how the permanent office is in the wetlands, building, zoning, they're all under one budget. So it's all those different divisions that would have their computer line items. So I think it anticipates, at least for this department, and again, this department is a little bit different in the types of computers that they need. They do need more sophisticated computers because they have huge files come in, especially for the building department. The building department obviously now takes all of their plans electronically, and they're hoping to continue to add to that. And so their computer systems, the software that they need are a little bit more robust than the normal $700 computer that we talked about earlier.
Thank you. Any further?
No, I don't have much in that area.
And if there are questions that you come up with that you'd like to have written responses for, please email me those or call me and I will have written responses.
Thank you.
Okay, that,
And then ZBA, page 29, basically secretarial and administrative costs. Okay. 4310, police department. Welcome.
Thank you.
Page 43.
yep.
So, I mean, see if you have the numbers in front of you. This year's budget compared to last year, there's about a $214,000 increase, which is pretty marginal in a $12.4 million budget, in my opinion. But that $214,000 accounts for $138,000 of that is for three new items. We'll look at those in a second. And then the remaining portions, remaining $75,000 is just to, is reflected in some marginal increases in some deficits, some significant deficits that are in the budget, have in the budget for a number of years, are in the budget again this year, and referring to some of the personnel costs, the overtime costs. Those three programs are Narcan for $6,800, which is a drug that our police officers will be carrying to administer to somebody that's experiencing a narcotics overdose. It saves lives, and there was a decision to provide our officers, each one of our officers, with Narcan, so you'll see that every year. The next one is the body-worn camera storage. If you recall, there was a state law passed providing funding for police officers to purchase and carry, or excuse me, and wear body-worn cameras. Well, the state, in their grant funds, is paying the $235,000 initial charge. We have $96,000 in a fixed cost of storage every year to the vendor for storage of the video. Then the $29,850 for modems. When we changed to body cameras, the modems were in the cars, and they allow the body cameras to communicate with the cameras in the cars, which we haven't purchased yet.
Okay. Do you know which accounts these?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
It's on your last page,
Right.
page 46.
right.
The body worn camera account is 49770205.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I requested 96, mayor's recommended 81,000, and just above that are the modems,
okay,
0204 for 29850,
okay.
and then the Narcan, it's an expense account, and I'll have to find that for you.
That's in 4732. Page
4732-0001 is the
Yeah.
Narcan, and those are the three new items.
Were these modems in every car? Excuse me.
Modems are in every car.
Every
They allow for the connectivity of the in-car, of the in-car computer system. The in-car camera will also communicate over that system, and will communicate with the body camera, so it'll be integrated.
So every officer will have a body camera?
Yes, we've had body cameras for 7.5 years before anyone was talking about them, but we had just enough cameras to share, and it worked out fine. I have a new program, everybody has to, under the state law, everyone has to have their own camera.
What account is Narcan?
Narcan is the expense account.
6850, okay, I see
Yeah,
it.
4732-0001 for 6850.
And now, the body worn, the storage, that's a storage of the video?
That's a storage of the video, it's a cloud storage, it's a subscription per camera.
Okay, is there, do you have an estimate, a bid that?
$96,000 is the fixed cost.
Okay, somebody actually will do it for 96,000.
Right, and that's a
Okay.
5-year commitment to that price. That price actually escalates slightly, it goes from 96, I believe, to 103 in the 5th year.
Is that per year?
96,000 per year for this first year. It's a subscription cost it does a number of different things. There's a couple different ways you can handle body worn camera storage. You can have your own local system. It's a series of servers, with some redundancy built in. But in a department our size, one of the things that we need is we need not only to have a place to store this stuff and make sure we have adequate redundancy, but the back-end software is critical. And what I mean by that is when a video is uploaded, it needs to be cataloged into what type of incident it is, because the records of retention require that. And it needs to be attached to a case. And then at the same time, when we need to find that video, let me just give you, for instance, if you walked into the police department and said, I want all use of force events for the last 10 years. Well, under the state statute, we have to provide that. So now we have to find that. So we have to do a search for all use of force incidents. Find those. Those have to be queued up, placed in a player. They have to be reviewed by somebody in real time. They have to be edited for any material that's exempt under state law, and then copied and then released. And so the back-end software in a department our size is critical. And so that's what we want with the cloud storage solution.
Now, who does all this work for you?
Well, we chose Taser as our vendor, but there's a number of vendors, especially more recently, there's a number of people that are getting into the body-worn camera business, a number of companies.
But I mean, as far as going and getting your records out and all that, somebody in the department has to do that?
Right. We haven't hired anyone to
officer?
do that. We don't know what that's going to entail.
Yeah.
We have one person that does all of our FOI requests, our FOIA requests.
Yeah.
She's going to have to work with our tech people to manage this body-worn camera FOIA request. It's going to be significant.
Now, you have access to all the storage, right?
We have access to all the storage.
Okay, so you have the software that enables you to get in and pick out the...
It actually sits on the cloud server.
Okay.
It's the company storage that we subscribe to that allows us to utilize that. Every officer, when they record an incident, event, every single event, that officer has to go in and catalog that event and place that into a certain catalog, a database, and that'll determine how long it's being, what it's being used for and how long it's being retained.
Okay. Has the vendor said anything about security in the cloud?
Mm-hmm. We've looked, we're confident in the security on the cloud, extremely confident. We've looked at a number of different vendors. Security really wasn't an issue for us.
Okay.
We were more concerned about, not security, but trying to manage the deletion schedule on this video. Because we don't have we don't have MIS people, we have police officers that
Yeah,
get placed into this job and get trained, and if one makes a mistake, we could inadvertently destroy video or place it in the wrong database. It's a tremendous responsibility to place on a young police officer. So we felt utilizing a cloud storage solution was the best decision for us.
what's the average life of the cameras? Do they have any day?
3 to 5 years
So that, the cameras we didn't have to pay for this time around?
this time.
So next time around, we're gonna pay?
In 5 years, I'll have to pay for them again.
And that's $235 that state paid, or? How much was it?
234, I believe.
$234, yeah.
It's expensive, it's extremely expensive. We felt we had a good system, rotating the cameras around.
Yeah.
But, the statute specifies everything.
Is there also a camera in the car?
There aren't now, because we didn't maintain those, but what we're doing, the cameras that we had in the car are about $9,000. We were able to Taser, this company here, one of the reasons that we chose them as our body-worn camera vendor is they have a very modest in-car camera system that is about a quarter of the cost. And so we're gonna go ahead with those, and they'll integrate with our body-worn cameras to make one file.
That's perfect.
Okay, so we have a camera in the car?
We don't yet, the modems are the first thing we need, and then we'll find money to buy those cameras.
Okay.
Will that be a camera for every car or a camera?
Every car,
Okay.
every line car,
Everybody
every
has a
frontline car, we won't equip every car
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's just too expensive,
Yeah.
just the ones that are frontline.
The wages, the increase in wages that I look at, it was only less than $30,000, is that right? That seems,
Those numbers are provided by finance to us, that wage.
it was only a $30,000 increase in wages? Seems,
Because their contract is not settled yet, it says expired, so
okay.
the increases in the benefits, other wage
Contingency?
adjustments.
It's in the
Contingency,
other-
the other wage adjustments contingency.
Okay, I was gonna say,
Yeah, right.
too good to be true, right? All right, that explains it. Thank you, Peter. All right.
And how many cruisers are you buying this year?
We'd like to get 7, we got 7 last year. I just want to point out, that when I became chief 11 years ago, we had 7 as police officers, and we used to buy 12 to 13 cruisers. Now we're buying around 7 to 8. We actually, I think, went a year with even less than that, but that should buy 7 cruisers. They're a lot more money now, especially with the SUVs.
And the mayor's recommendation, that has 6?
That should give us 7 with trades.
That'll give you 7 too also?
That should give us 7 with the trades, right?
The 255.
The 255.
And the 285 you requested?
The 285 would have given us 9.
9, okay.
What's the turnover in the cars? Oh, you use some of them for...
I'm sorry.
protective stuff.
I'm
Oh, I'm
sorry.
sorry.
I apologize, would have given us 8.
Yeah,
That would have been 80.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
yeah.
The turnover on the car?
Turnover of cars, what do they last?
Um,
I know you,
they
some
s-
go into,
Right, they stay on the front line for a
Undercover.
year, and then they go on the second line, which are those that aren't running 20, because the front line runs 24 hours, they're 7 days a week, 24 hours a
Mhm.
day. And then the other ones go on the second line, which are used less frequently. And then we take the third year and place some in the detective bureau. And then some of those get traded in, depending on how long they've been there. So we get about 3 years line out of a car, and we get about 3-4 years in the detective bureau with the car, because they're used less frequently. And they're not hard miles. These are hard miles.
Yeah, right.
these cars. You're in a car with 50,000 miles, it looks like it has 200,000.
mhm.
You requested a video camera for $73,000. Was that the dash camera, the car camera?
Those are the car cameras.
Those are the car
Those are the car cameras.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening. Animal control, 4340.
Good evening.
How are you?
Matt Olson, I'm the head of animal control. We service Milford and Orange. For the budget, I'm not requesting anything new. It's pretty much the same as last year with the exception of secretarial fees, which is for the Animal Commission. We've had a couple retired due to health concerns, and we've got people that are more than likely going to attend all meetings. So that's the only increase I'm requesting.
Have we ever paid out, secretarial fees before?
What do you mean? Every year, the secretarial fees were paid out. It's just recently, it was at $500, but it's $50, and we meet once a month, so then it's $600 if they make all meetings.
Does it show up on the revenue side for, because Orange is paying us, reimbursing us something, does it?
It's a reserve fund, they pay us $75,000 a year.
Okay.
And the animal control does from time to time, either purchase a vehicle through that or have some overtime associated with that they take out.
So that income is not shown in this budget, goes into reserve fund?
It goes into, correct. And you can get we can get a printout.
No, that's fine, I was just wondering if it was any offset of some sort of cost, but, I mean, it is, but not directly into the operating budget.
So we don't have any vehicles and equipment that I see.
Right, because we are purchasing a vehicle, but it's coming through Orange money. And the other thing I've used Orange money for is to cover some vet bills, which were rather hefty from a loading case. So that way it didn't come out of the Milford budget.
How do you feel that that relationship is working with the town?
I think it's beneficial to both, actually, because they don't have the overhead, and it gives us the extra money to cover things like vehicles and any hoarding cases, vet bills that are excessive, things like that.
Do they have their own kennel or facility, or that's our facility?
It's our facility.
Now, do you have any how many calls you get roughly a year on it?
From Orange or all together?
From Orange? Just a guesstimate.
We typically, at least when we actually first started them, we weren't getting a lot of calls, but now it seems like the word got more around because they would always call Woodbridge because they were with Woodbridge. It's more or less coming back where it's increasing. So like first year, I'd probably in a year, maybe 300. And now it's up to like 500 and some. In fact, there's days where those are the only calls we get.
Really? What do those calls consist of mostly?
Mostly loose dogs, bites, neighbor disputes, your dog's on my lawn, that type of stuff. So, injured cats, sometimes injured wildlife. But for the most part, they seem to not call for injured anything from Orange. So
they just take care of it.
So you come out and
Pretty
get
much.
wildlife?
It depends on the situation. We don't really do wildlife, but if it's something that I can actually myself help, like there's an injured owl, I'll go out, I'll see what I can do. I'll try and contact some owl rescue group or something like that. But if it's just something like there's a skunk under my porch or under my shed, well, then unfortunately we got to refer them to nuisance wildlife removers. But if it's something where I can save like an owl or something, I'll go out and do it.
Oh, okay.
In fact, there was a squirrel stuck in the tree out here at Parsons the other day. Actually stuck in. So things like that we do, try and help.
Good.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
All
your
right,
patience.
thank you.
Okay, we'll go back to DPLU. Don't think we have any questions, but thank you for coming out.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay, we move right along.
27, it's on that.
Go back, but thank you for coming this week. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
This is what I would like from Janet Jackson, stuff like this. So you can look at it right now. And you get 76-year-old instant recall.
Oh, man, yeah, maybe she's looking for a grant.
Well, welcome, I thank you for the
Yeah.
material. If there's anything that you'd like to indicate, we're happy to listen.
Kind of briefly on what I'm presenting tonight. Our budget, well, I guess it's no surprise, our budget represents an increase of $86,875 over last year's budget, of which I guess about $80,000 of which is in our salary increases. Another point in which we've asked for increased funding is this year we've asked for a $5,500 allocation for 5 new tablets, not laptops, but tablets that get carried out in the field. As I'll explain later on, or I'll explain now. One of our objectives from last year was to more effectively use our database. One of the ways that we were doing that is taking our programs out to the field. We had tablets that we purchased, or somebody purchased 6 years ago. We have been utilizing those, where I think of the 4 that we have, 3 are working sort of well, 1 is not working at all, just I believe just due to its age. But what we are doing is we've taken this kind of jump into doing all of our inspections online. We go out there, we use our tablets, they're generating very accurate reports, they're then emailed back to our office for filing and processing. They're also emailed directly to the applicant immediately, and emailed to the person right there in the field. So it's a very accurate accounting of what's going on. It's faster, and it's taken on. But we obviously can't kind of ride the 2 horses. We've got to either do it all electronically, which we are doing, but I really would have a real fear of trying to do both manual reports as well as the online reporting.
So when you use the tablet, there's no paper?
No.
None at all?
Well, the report gets generated as a PDF, so we are able to print it out. For instance,
If you want to print it out, but
right.
it gets emailed to the applicant too?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
So again,
Unless there's a need for paper, there is no paper?
There would be no paper.
Okay.
Yeah. And it seems to be working out really well.
All right. Now, how many tablets are there in 55 in that number?
We're looking to purchase 5 of them.
Okay.
So we've got right now, as I also indicate, this year, we have, in addition to formalizing Charlie Carell's position as the chief building inspector, we filled his position as building inspector A with Rack Leeson, who we hired. He was the building official in Weston. He lives here in Milford, and he accepted the position. And he's been with us since February of this year. He's doing really well. It seems to be a really good fit. So as I said, we will have Charlie Carell, our chief building inspector. He frankly enjoys going out and doing his inspections. It's a good way to keep his hands on, and frankly, he was key in implementing getting the tablets going, only because he's taking them out, he's using them, and saying this is what works, this is what doesn't work.
Okay.
I on occasion am able to go out and do my inspections as well. And again, it serves as a useful tool to just see what everybody's experiencing and doing. So, that's where we were looking for the 5 tablets.
Now, if you have a case that goes to the zoning board of appeals, they have access to this material?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yes, that is, again, one of the objectives, I think, from 2 years ago was to take the planning, the zoning, the ZBA, all of those functions as the applications come into our office and get them working through view permit. I'd like to say view permit's working great, but it's not. But we do utilize it fully. And again, the advantage there is that ZBA, planning and zoning, building, we're all working off the same tool.
Okay. So when a case comes up,
For the zoning board of appeals?
yeah,
Yeah.
who's it, Stokes in that? Is he on that board?
No, David Selkis is the Executive Secretary of the Planning and Zoning.
Planning and Zoning.
Stephen Harris.
Harris,
Administers
that's
the
Now, when
ZBA.
he's gonna get the case together,
Mhm.
so he goes to this file, be able to have the board members have all the information they need from the city side.
It's been happening anyway, but it has been happening, but it's been done manually. And
Oh.
what we are striving to do is as an application comes in the door, somebody walks in the door, they're not coming here to get a variance typically.
Right.
They're looking to get a permit.
Right.
And then what they find out is in order for them to get a permit, they need a variance. And so what we're doing is tracking that workflow, if you will, through
Right.
the office, and we're doing it through View Permit. So again, it gives me, Dave Sulkus, the building inspector, Charlie Correll, gives us all access to that information, so we're communicating.
Good.
Talked about our increase, trying to increase our use of technology. Our building inspections are being done through View Permit in the field, and let me just kind of go through quickly what we're anticipating in the coming year. In addition to having Rack Gleason filling a full-time building inspector position, we still have access to and cap as our demands require our seasonal / temporary staff. That's Steve Stefan, who's been with us. He's a retired building official. In our busy months, the summer, he's available, and we utilize him to backfill as necessary during our summer months. And then I think also importantly, we've, within this year's budget, we hired and have been utilizing our DPLU receptionist, concierge, if you will, Dora Kubek. She's been working out great, and she just seems to have a really good feel for dealing with our customers as they come through the door. As she becomes more familiar with our procedures and becomes more familiar with frankly, the requirements of the various applications, we're looking to get her to expand her roles and responsibilities, if you will. What she's inputting into the system. She's not acting as a building inspector, she's not acting as a zoning enforcement officer, but she is learning very quickly to ask these very appropriate questions to get them into the system. Just keep people from, waiting to get into the zoning or building department. She can give them the guidance that they need as far as getting us the right information. She's working out really well, and we're looking to expand her roles.
Where is she listed as?
She is under our budget as
Secretary?
at the bottom there. I think she's a clerk A.
I'm sorry?
She's one of the clerk A's.
Oh, okay.
What do you see by way of volume or number of applications we receive? Is it steady, an increase, decrease, as far as overall activity?
It's been steady in terms of the number of permits. Residential, I think, is picking up a little bit. Based on the prior years, we don't have the ShopRites coming in or some of these storage facilities where you get some other rather large applications, though, that are starting to make their way through the planning and zoning process. Another interesting shift, if you will, was that 2-3 years ago, whenever a school project was done, it was in effect, I'm not going to say rubber stamped, but it was reviewed thoroughly at the state level, at the school facilities unit. They've been kind of taken out of the picture, and they are very formally taking the plan review process and putting it square on our shoulders. So again, whereas we used to, we work closely with the fire marshal, and we would do our plan reviews, but now it's a really thorough plan review whenever we're getting a school project in. So again, it's just a kind of chunk of workload that we're taking on. It's hard to say right now. Right now, we're in a really slow, well, not really slow, but the slower time of the year. And I would anticipate that we are going to see the increases in the spring and the summer.
Last year, we had approximately $100 million in new construction come through the department, and that's $100,000 in declared new construction.
permit fees, you mean?
For, no, well, that's new construction come through for permitting, not $100 million in permit fees.
No, I heard 100,000, and so,
Oh,
you said 100 million.
100 million.
Okay, thank you.
One of the things that's a bullet on our list here, if I can find it, is, I don't want to overemphasize this, but one of our issues is that a small percentage of our applicants come in with what I'll call a lowball number in terms of construction in order to save their permit fees. We are implementing it's a nationally published schedule of construction costs, residential construction. It's adjusted for regional factors that were in Fairfield County, New Haven County area. And so specifically when somebody comes in and says they're going to build a new house for $50 a square foot, we will point to that table and say, no, you're not. You know, if you can, terrific.
Yeah.
We're
still going to charge you.
Great job, but we're going to charge you $115.
Right.
So it's one of the things.
That's
again,
all.
Well, it does require us to take in specific information on our applications, the building area, obviously, in order to multiply that out. But we are looking to, again, primarily rely on an applicant's, whatever, good faith. And for the most part, as I said, I think it is being done in good faith. People come in and give us an honest answer. But in other times, we're going to give the building officials the ability to say, no, we're not buying it. So.
Is the affordable housing come under your area?
Yes.
When we have affordable housing, the developer comes in and says, I have, say, 4 units on the affordable housing aspect of this building. Once it's built, how do you follow up, like 3 years from now, that those 4 apartments still stay as affordable?
A couple of things that we've implemented just this year. Number one, when that developer comes in and says, I don't need to comply with your zoning regulations because this is an 830G application.
Right.
We have now implemented a procedure, as you say, prove it, show it to us. Give us the deed restrictions and the affordability plan that you are required to provide. That's our way of knowing that, yes, it is in fact affordable. And it gets put up to the Community Development Office. Sheila Dravis is reviewing it, and she comes back to us with a formal review, much like we do with any set of plans. She's coming back to us with a formal review saying, yeah, we'll buy this, and we will accept this as an affordable housing application.
Right.
Then once the CO is issued, that affordability plan is, or the deed restrictions are filed with the city clerk. But also, it's being tracked then by the Office of Community Development. They have to, I believe by our zoning, no, excuse me, by statute, the city planner, the Planning and Zoning Commission's executive planner, is responsible for collecting this information. He is the one who has to have on his calendar that on certain dates, he's got to have certain information put in 3 years later by the developer.
Right.
There has to be an annual submission
Right.
for each housing development.
They sell that project, we're still following it.
Yes, and then, but again, he is taking that information and
Of the
passing
deed
it off to
restriction.
the Community Development Office, who, they do know what they're talking about. They know what they're looking at when it comes to,
So we do have an audit track on this.
yes.
Also the low-income piece, there's a low-income piece, and you follow that too?
It's an
It's
affordable
for-
piece.
yes.
There's an 80%,
Right.
60%, depends on the scale of affordability.
Right.
Low income's separate, through section 8.
Yeah,
For
low-income affordable is not the equivalent.
No, I know that, but I thought of in the affordable plans, that they had to provide low-income housing, or, below average.
They provide to an income of a certain amount.
Okay, they do have to
A
provide
percentage
that
of the median of this,
of the affordable housing plan.
And low income, or not, affordable isn't necessarily affordable. I mean, for
Right, I know that, yeah, I know.
A one-bedroom unit, it's $1,400 a month for rent. For a 5-bedroom unit, it's, close to $1,900 a month, which
I
is.
realize that. But I thought that in each one of those applications, there was a piece where they had to provide below average,
Not necessarily.
below average.
No,
No?
there's different levels of affordability.
Okay,
80% of the area mean, or 60% of the area mean.
okay,
But again, the law, it has good intentions. the way it was originally drafted, but developers are using it in a way that the law never really intended, just, again, to make profits and really abuse our local zoning laws. The issue is that we have, you know, carefully crafted zoning laws that are out the window at this point because of this law, and we've been pushing back at the state level. We've testified, provided testimony last week to have this law changed with the state, and we're hoping that this legislative session, finally, there's some meaningful legislative changes, which have not really happened since the law was put into place almost, well, 1990, so.
Yeah. Okay, but there is a piece that says 60%?
There's levels of affordability,
Okay.
there's 80%, 60%.
Okay.
And that really comes into play for determining a moratorium or an exemption for the municipality. The number of points a municipality can get towards an exemption or a moratorium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm all set.
Anything further? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. That concludes the departments for this evening. We have our next meeting.
I'm sorry.
No, no, it worked out perfectly. Don't worry.
Yes.
Thank you. March 2nd, Thursday night, technical session.
Is that the one we go through the revenues and everything?
It is, and Peter and I will go over some of our thoughts. Again, as you know, the state of Connecticut came down like a ton of bricks on the city of Milford. At least the proposed budget at this point is something that, you know, in our worst nightmares, we could not have anticipated. Over the course of the next several months, we're going to be working with our Board of Education, we're going to be working with our various department heads to have a couple of contingency plans.
Right.
Peter and I started off our morning meeting about this. We ended our day meeting about this. I spent, last week, a portion of last week in Hartford meeting about this at the governor's office and OPM's office, trying to figure out where the budget is ultimately going to land and when it's going to land. And Hartford cannot give you an answer. Absent clairvoyance, we don't know how big of an impact it's going to be on Milford. But Peter and I are working with our department heads and our Board of Education, and we're teaming up to give a couple of different contingency plans so that when we ultimately have to adopt the budget after your board recommends it to the Board of Aldermen, even then, after the Board of Aldermen adopt it, usually mid-May, we're going to have some contingencies.
Can we, I don't know if we'd be involved in it, but can the Board of Aldermen come back after they approve their budget? And then I heard September 9th for the final decision from Hartford. Now, we put the Board of Aldermen put the budget in April thereabouts. Now comes September. Will these cuts affect this budget or will it be the future budget? We don't know, do we?
Well, the legislature adopts a biennial budget.
Yeah.
So the first year they make the budget, and then the second year they have technical changes. But again, if they adopt the budget in September, there's going to be a big period of unknown for all 169 municipalities in the state of Connecticut. The proposal that was put out about 2 weeks ago, really did crush those municipalities, that did good and were careful planners and did the right thing and were thrifty with their budgets, over the course of many, many, many years. And it really did punish, those, municipalities and those towns and cities that did the right thing, and it rewarded bad behavior. And we're trying to, push back. Our state delegation is working to make sure that, the finished product is hopefully going to be better than what has been proposed right now, because at this point, it's untenable. It's huge, huge hit on Milford, and we're working hard with our state folks to bring that back to a level that we could absorb, because we can't absorb what we're being faced with right now.
I always made the analogy, that's like saying to a kid in school, you're an A+ student, but Johnny's only a C minus. I think we're gonna take some of your grade and put it to Johnny so we can come balance it out here in this classroom. I said, it's wrong, absolutely wrong. There must be a legal aspect, but there isn't ever with this thing. But, oh, well,
Okay, well, Thursday night,
there's no hockey.
bring your, yeah, put it on,
Oh, yeah, I can watch it.
yeah, watch it. Okay.
Oh, Brian,
Yeah, we're in recess.
I knew there was a low income piece to that.
So,
I didn't know what it was.
yeah, it's
That's all, it's just a regular, that's what it is. It amounts to 14